Greetings and salutations. Nothing like my 28th cup of espresso. I'm fine. Hi, everybody. I'm what's left of Russ Kane. Look, I got it out of all the stuff, but not good. Not good. Moving on. This is, of course, as you know, The Daily Show. Exclusive on Men's Radio Station. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a hell of a day today. After this, I've got Showbiz Update, The Dentist. So, can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to The Dentist. Said nobody ever. And now they send you some stupid cockamamie form that you got to give away your entire life story. Well, it's a dentist. Shut up about it. Sort my teeth out. I'm not filling in all this crap. So that's number one, right? Then I've got American investors flying in from New York, or Boston, or I don't know, somewhere on the East Coast, having dinner this evening in town. And then I have to dash home. I get about an hour's sleep, and then the car will come pick me up at 2 a.m. to go and do Talk TV. What a day. There we are. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Now, normally, gang, he is the king of New Malden. Huh? I promoted. No longer the king of New Malden, because he is now the Count of Canada.
Greetings and
Where
welcome
in
welcome
the world
from
are
Kingston,
you,
Canada,
Neil Long? Where are
live
you?
from Ontario.
Jeez, you've just doubled the population of Ontario. There's 3 people there and 2 cows. They're a bit nervous.
There's a few more than that, I can tell you.
Is that East Coast, West Coast? I don't know. I have no idea.
My geography is absolutely awful. I've got
Well,
no
you got
clue
on the
where I am.
plane. You must have, said to the pilot, drop me off here because I got to see my daughter. Did you not bother?
No, I just kind of let him take me where he wants to take me.
Oh, well, a bit of a laissez-faire attitude, if you don't mind me saying so, Longy. So you're in Canada. Unbelievable.
And I've got 39% on my computer, so I might have to jump in on the phone at some point.
Okay. Well, bless you. I cannot believe. I mean, you remember that imp, that rapscallion, Phil Dave.
Yeah, I tuned in on Friday.
He can't even bloody make it to London Bridge Station, the arse. You go all the way to Canada, right? And you're on the show.
Well, yeah.
That is the power, ladies and gentlemen, of Men's Radio Station and The Daily Show. When we talk, everyone sleeps. There we are. Right. This is your pal, the famous clockmaker to the stars.
RVB.
Robert Van Buren. Hello, Russ.
How you doing?
Special good morning to everybody who takes the stream. Sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? On Deluxe Radio there. Hello to Deluxe Radio. 70,000 of you listening. I know you can't see us, which, frankly, in my case, is a mercy. And Mary G. Williams, who's listening and watching in Kentucky. Toronto is in Ontario. Are you in Toronto?
Right.
You're in Toronto?
Well, I went to Toronto. I flew into Toronto Pearson, and then I got a 3-hour train journey to Kingston. It's like a student town. It's quite nice. And
your reason is you're there because?
I'm seeing Ashley, my daughter.
Was she expecting you?
No, I just thought I'd pop over. Surprise!
Hey, yeah. Guess who's here? Dad, I'd love... But you know what the kids would do? Dad, I'd love to see you. We've got plans to see you. Yeah, but I've just flown in from... Dad, I've got drinks.
It was all pre-planned, so all is good.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is a beautiful thing. Right. Got a very special guest, and I can say, oh, look at this. From lovely Demisa, who I managed to embarrass this morning on the phone, and believe me, that's a skill.
Oh, well done.
Hello, guys. Sending you both good wishes for a lovely day. She kind of talks like that. Now, I love books, but I love crime books.
Okay.
I don't read worthy novels. I don't read intellectual novels because I don't. Why? Because they bore me shitless. And I don't find the philosophy in them particularly helpful. But I love crime novels. The first adult book, don't get excited, that I ever read when I was a little kid was Earl Stanley Gardner, was one of the Perry Mason mysteries. And
right.
That's what I grew up on. And my dad would read Ellery Queen, and they were marvelous as well. So I've been addicted to sort of Agatha Christie and all these other writers since I was a child, literally since I was a child. And it's very rare that somebody comes along straight out of the gate. I'm so thrilled she is with us today. It is only Janice Hallett.
Goodness
Hello.
me.
Hello, there I am on screen. Hello.
There you are. Now, are those all that is impressive behind you, Janice?
They're real books as well.
Wow.
I'm loving that.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Look at Neil sitting in a little trailer park alone in Canada in the wilderness, the prairie just rushing by, the tumbleweed. Shame. You've got a beautiful bookcase. Janice, thank you so much. I'm so excited you're here on the show. I really, really am.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
Absolutely my pleasure. Now, before anybody gets clever, let me just say this. Apart from the fact Janice has become one of my favorite writers right out of the box, is this, that people say, well, wait a minute, this is a men's radio station is about mental health and well-being. And I can tell you, hand on heart, if it was not for books like Janice's, which I listen to as audio books to give it an extra dimension when I'm walking the dog, etc., I would have gone further round the bend, and I mean this seriously, Neil. I would have gone further round the bend over the last 2.5, 3 years than ever. And Janice and her ilk have really kept me sane. And I mean it. I really mean it.
That's lovely to know.
No, I'm serious. Janice, let's get into this. Because what fascinates me is if you have somebody like the great Anthony Horowitz, who's written a gazillion books, and you think, yeah, okay, it's another Anthony Horowitz book. You know it's going to be great. He's going to be bought because it's going to be terrific. I'm a huge fan of him, and he's a charming man. There you are. You've never written a book before. Boom, straight into the top of the bestsellers. I mean, please walk us through the process, please.
No, I wish I knew, because I could probably sell that seminar many times over if I knew the secret. God, but no, I think, well, possibly the secret was that I didn't realize that book would ever be published. And while I was writing it, I was really free and writing without a deadline, without a commission, writing what on earth I wanted, whenever I wanted. And maybe that comes across in the book itself. That's all I can say.
Janice, can I jump in? I'm so sorry, but this is when it's live and when you're dealing with things. Now, this lady, this is a downer. Then we're going to come straight back to what we were talking about. But it would be rude of me not to talk about this just for a second, please. I know it's not how normal radio and TV works, but Chrissy Richards lives in Spain and she watches all the shows.
Hey, Chrissy.
And I've just read this, and this is why what we do. I'm not in a good place today, says Chrissy Richards, who we normally muck about with and joke with. My eldest son died yesterday. Thank God for my video families. Chrissy, everybody at Men's Radio Station and Women's Radio Station, that's all our presenters and the backstage team, and Neil and I, we send you our deepest condolences. I am so sorry.
Yeah,
that is not a message one ever want to read. Chrissy, I'm so sorry. Gosh. So you see, the thing about that is, no matter what you're feeling, somebody else is going through absolute hell. So, just always bear in mind. So I'm just fascinated by this. Why, first of all, let's wind it right back, Janice. Why did you decide that you could write?
That happened really early on because I was a really shy little girl. But the minute I learned how to write, something happened, and I realized that was how I communicated with people. I mean, nobody wanted to listen to me throughout my childhood, my teens, even my adult life. No one listened. But the minute I wrote something, people wanted to read it. I mean, from the moment the teachers were reading out my work to the class, which I have to say didn't endear me to anybody, any of my classmates. Absolutely
they hate
not
that,
at all.
Kids hate that.
So I kind of always had a feeling that was something I could do, that was how I communicated. I got my point across and how I expressed myself. So yeah, it's always there for me.
I think you've hit on something with not having any deadline. You didn't expect it to be published, and therefore, in the best way, you didn't care. And because you didn't, I put that in inverted commas, you didn't care so much. And then, of course, if you didn't care so much, you could flow a lot better. You didn't have that critic in your ear saying it's not good enough, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. You could literally just let go and give it your best. And that's the formula to bottle, isn't it? You were in flow, I think.
Totally. And by then I'd more or less given up trying, because I've been trying to get into writing for TV for years and years, and it just wasn't happening. So really, so long as my agent and her assistant enjoyed what I wrote, that was it for me. So
you got because there's millions of people who try to write. Getting an agent is beyond hard. If you don't know and you're not in the industry, believe me, they will do everything they can to say no. So you found were you introduced to an agent, or how did that work?
It took me absolutely years, if not decades, to find an agent, Russ. It was what held me back. I felt it held me back for many a year. And in fact, I'd co-written a film that had quite an A-list cast. Really, I still couldn't get an agent. Still couldn't find the one.
Oh my God, what was the film, by the way?
The film was Retreat. It was as soon as I got to say, I'm just recovering from COVID, so I have to take some water on the.
You take your time.
Thank you.
How are you feeling, by the way?
Oh, do you know, I feel fine. This was the second bout of COVID, and it only lasted a couple of days.
Yeah.
And now I feel absolutely brilliant. So compared to the first time, a couple of years ago,
awful,
completely different. So,
horrible.
Anyway, I'm much better today. Thank you.
Goodness for that. Well, you take
Where was
your time.
I in my?
You were saying the film. The film was Retreat.
The film, yes, so Retreat. I co-written it with its director, Carl Tibbets. We had a great cast. It was Jamie Bell, Cillian Murphy, Tandy Wayne Newton. I mean, it was brilliant. And it had been out, and I still couldn't get an agent. Even after that, it took me ages.
I'm going to jump in, and I'll tell you why this is so important. It's about resilience. It's about saying, I am not going to quit. But it also is very indicative. I know people are watching and listening, and they're thinking, oh, I can't do it. And I mean, or it must be so easy once you're in TV, or once you're in radio. It's so, trust me, I don't know anybody who finds it easy. It is so tough. So they're not picking on you. It doesn't mean you're a failure. I don't mean you, Janice. I mean, the French would say, oh. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just is hard. And that's what it is. It's tough. I mean, that's a hell of a cast there.
Oh, absolutely. We were lucky to get them. And, they did such an amazing job as well. But still, it took me from then about 6 years. 6 years. And I think I hooked up with my agent eventually because, and this is coming back to the resilience thing, I was keeping entering competitions, schemes, courses, doing whatever. If there was something going, I was entering or trying to get onto it. Brilliant. And I entered a competition and won it and I think it was something like the best unproduced screenplay in a film festival in London. And I won that. My unproduced script won that. And that's what got my current agent's attention. So it was that. So it was that resilience that got me an agent eventually.
I just want to explain to people who don't know about books what Janice has. I'm sorry, I know I'm bigging you up. You're just gonna have to go with it, Janice. You're gonna have to go with it. I know they don't. This is Radio 4, but not Radio 4. Every publishing, first of all, no publishing house, no publisher will look at a manuscript unless it comes via an agent. So if you think you've got the greatest book and you send it off to Random House or Simon & Schuster, it goes straight in the bin. In the bin. They will not look at it. Even through agents, and they have to like the agent and know the agent, trust me on that, they are receiving, each publishing house, 500 manuscripts a week, probably. Minimum of 200 a week. And somebody then starts to have to sift through that. So to achieve what Janice has done is freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal. You have no idea how hard, how many, I'm not going to plug my own book, The Gatekeeper, but there are so many gatekeepers in the way who will just say no. And if the reader, who could be some 16-year-old intern, not being that rude really, says no, it's never going to get higher up the chain. Never. My next question to you is this. You said you were shy, etc. Your first book, The Appeal, you took a style, and I've said this to you, I know because we've tweeted and stuff like that. I said this to you, that in the hands of somebody less accomplished than yourself would have been the most boring load of crap ever. It would have been unreadable. Tell us the style.
The style of The Appeal is emails, mainly emails and texts between characters. And it's between minor characters as a particular events play out, sort of center stage. These minor characters are talking. And that comes from how I started the book off. I mean, when I decided to try writing a novel, I had been working on TV scripts, and my TV idea that I was thinking about at the time was this very story. So I thought, how about emails between minor characters? And it was just from that a notion that came to me.
It's genius. I'm sorry to say, I rarely use, Neil knows I never use the word genius because I think most people like me are flim-flam artists, but it's genius because there's no descriptive passages.
No.
And you think of a book, and somehow, and I don't know how you pulled this off, the emails, the voicemails and memos completely give you a three-dimensional view of those characters, but there's no other description. You're getting it through the subtext of what it's
that's very clever.
It's so clever.
I think it comes from script writing. I think we do that a lot as script writers, conveying character through words, and as much as what's unsaid as what's said, it speaks us out. So there's both of that. I'm glad people have picked it up and enjoy it.
Did you enjoy it? Blimey! I mean, it was. So, how did you feel looking at the emotion? And we can get back to the technical side because I think a lot of people are really fascinated because they never get to talk to a best-selling author. It's always a 3-second interview. Oh, congratulations, and that's the end of it. How did you feel when suddenly your dreams of becoming a published author not only come true but explode?
Well, it's amazing. It continues to be quite surreal, and it's wonderful. I can't put it any other way. There's no downside. It's just great. It's just validation, really, of many, many long years of attempting to get to this point, or to get to a point further back, actually. And I suddenly found myself further forward than I thought. So no, it's been absolutely fabulous. And I'm enjoying the moment as much as I possibly can.
Has people's attitude towards you? Neil and I have worked together, but Neil and I have only recently, and I'm thrilled, joined Men's Radio. But Neil and I used to work at Capital Radio together for many, many years. And back in when Capital was huge, we had 4 million listeners a day sort of thing, people's attitude to you changed. I didn't like any of that. Have people's attitudes to you gone from it's Janice Hallett to, oh my God, it's Janice Hallett? Has that changed?
Sometimes I can see that do. I don't mind so much because it's.
No, I didn't mind it either.
But when something changes for you, I mean, inevitably that changes for other people as well. So you kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
And it's different for them as it's different for me. I just hope it's good and that we can all enjoy the moment together.
Good question from Liz here. Do you ever have writer's block or slow on creativity? And how do you get past that? I mean, this must be a scourge for many writers where you just sit there in front of a blank screen with maybe a blank head. But when that creativity is flowing through you, it's like it's just this unending, unstoppable tidal wave, in my experience of creativity. How does it work for you?
Well, absolutely. I do have those days in answers to the question. What I do to try and get over it, I often have more than one project, so I'll switch from one to the other to sort of renew
that's called showing off, Janice. No one likes a smart ass.
To renew my thought process, I suppose, to think of a different idea rather than the one that I'm stuck on. to keep things flowing. I'll stop and listen to music. Music, I find, changes my mood instantly,
Oh yeah.
in sort of good ways. As often I have tracks that I associate with particular books that I've written, because I've listened to them to inspire me. Occasionally, I'll have a walk, look out the window. Um, I try not to entertain that block for too long. Well, I can't because I have a lot of deadlines now. But I love writing. I do love the process, and I think that's also key, really, to love what you do.
I think you've said many things here. Number one, in the sense that there wasn't a deadline on this first one, so you didn't have that voice nagging at you, so you could get into the flow and give it your best. Something else that you said, you love what you do. That is key. And I think also you did mention, how can I put it? You've been trying for years, and eventually you let go. And it happened. And I hear that so many times. It's like Einstein said, I have my best ideas in the shower. And it's a bit like when you're trying to think of someone's name, can't think of it. Then you go and do something completely different and forget it. And then boom, there it is. There is something about, you can't fight flow. You can't fight your way into flow. You have to let go into flow.
Yeah, there's something magic. Something magic that happens.
There is a magic there. An interesting one for you. I know this from my DJing. 128 beats per minute. 128 BPM. Don't know if you like dance music, but if you do, whack on some of that. That will give you all 7 bliss chemicals at once in your brain. 128 BPM. Yeah, all the top DJs know that. That's when they get the crowds doing all this and going absolutely crazy. 128 BPM, you get all your anandamides and serotonins and dopamines at once, not one at a time. It's like being legally high.
And in the days when DJs were huge, and this is a shocker, but Neil knows this, because a lot of people on the dance floor were drugged off their faces because they wanted to have
I never knew that. Fun. I thought they were just loving what I was doing.
Yeah, I know you did. I'm sorry to break it to you rather brutally, but there we go.
Oh, rather nice.
And what the music people realize, and this is so calculated, but that's the music industry for you, which is why I have nothing to do with it, is they realize on certain drugs, your brain cycle was at a certain BPM. So they created the dance music to exactly correlate with your brain cycle, which is why the people on the dance floor dancing for hours, and they never realized how it had all been manufactured.
But this 128 thing, you don't need any drugs for it. You do it completely.
No. I'm not doing the two. Janice, when you're writing, it happens to me, and I can't explain, and I'm not a thousandth as successful as you, and I never will be. But are you amazed and you look down on your screen and go, where did that come from?
All the time. All the time. And that, I've got a theory, I don't know how true it is, but I believe that we write and we tap into our subconscious mind, but we read with our conscious mind. So sometimes there's a difference. So I often read things I've written and think, where did that come from? I don't remember writing that. I don't remember being able to write that, but I did. And I think that's the correlation.
It's so fascinating, Janice.
It's flow states. Russ and I talk about this a lot. When you're in your flow state, and it is. I've done it when I'm DJing. I'll say something or I'll do a mix or something like that. I'm like, where did that come from? Or I last did that 25 years ago, and I haven't remembered it for ages. And then bang, there it was. And then as soon as it's flowed through, you can't go back. You have to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And the biggest temptation I find, I imagine any creative person, is, can I go back to that? No, you can't step in the same river twice, but you can jump in the same river and let it take you again. That's
no going back.
I love that. I want to explain to everybody who's watching and listening all around the world what Janice pulled off with the first book, because she'll be too modest. I can tell. She'll be too modest to say. So imagine a really complex but totally engrossing, and I'm going to cheapen it with this phrase, so don't get cross, whodunit. So there's various things that have happened, and you're beginning to suspect what's going on. But imagine pulling that off just with emails and memos. It's I know I've said this to you so many times, you must be bored stupid, but I was like, I kept reading this going, how is she doing this? I was like, Christ, that
is genius.
It is genius. It's
yeah.
that clever.
I wish I knew how it's done.
Do you know what? There's a fantastic story, and it reminds you. You've just said something that I think so many best-selling authors would say, I wish I knew how it was done, how I'd done it. Many years ago, I think in the 50s, Sir Laurence Olivier was, I think it was Hamlet. I think it was Hamlet. And he'd given a magnificent performance, as always, live in the theatre in London. And somebody came into his dressing room and he was sitting on the floor sobbing, crying his eyes out. And the guy said, Sir Laurence, what's the matter? You just gave the most amazing performance. You had a standing ovation for about 10 minutes. He says, I know. And I don't know if I can ever do that again. Because he didn't know where it came from.
Oh, but Sir Laurence, you can. You just have to jump in the river again.
Well, you should have been in his dressing room, mate. And then you could have solved his problem. Do you see the
generally,
angst?
when I find I go into people's dressing rooms, I get arrested.
Well, you did. Diana Ross wasn't happy yesterday. I tell you that. She gave you, after 10 minutes, she asked you to leave. And you were in Canada. Here's the thing. So it is amazing when you look back. Now, your next book. So I thought, okay, this person has come straight out the gate, gone to the top of the charts. Everybody's raving about it. Can she do it again? I thought, because maybe we've all got like one book in us, and I'm struggling with that. Is that it? Have I got well, I've written two, but they're different genres. And I'm thinking, can I do it again? I don't know. I really don't know. It's causing me a lot of anguish. Your next book, completely different, called The Twyford Code. And I muck about with Janice on Twitter and send a code as a gag. I was hoping she would get it.
Which you're very good at.
Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you. And it's a code. And you think, I don't know where's this all going? And again, a completely different style. But again, with a coded thing, it could have gone so wrong. It could have been so dull. And yet you are, you know, the phrase, a page turner. What's happening? And you've got to keep going because you're invested. You've got to know what's happening. Where did that come from?
Well, that came from, you say it's very different to The Appeal, because I wrote them back to back. I was wary of writing the same novel twice. So I thought, right, this isn't going to be an ensemble novel with main female characters. This is going to be one character's journey, and that character will be a man. So that's where it came from, first of all. And then I kind of got, I'm not sure where the idea for, I mean, if I say a little bit about how the Twyford Code is structured, it's not emails. It is automatic transcriptions of voice files that are made by a character. So they're not emails, but then it's not totally unlike that.
Whoa.
It's not normal, in other words.
The only thing I would say, Janice, before you explain more, is I'm sure when you're reading it, you can scan through the data, and the data that comes with each transfer. But I listen to everything because I'm walking the dog, and that's how and I'm thinking, okay, I've got that, but I can't fast. It's a different thing. It didn't bother me at all. I was like like with both your books, and I read, and Neil knows this. I don't fib. You know, what you see is what you get. I was absolutely transfixed with both of them.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear.
But I was. It's a fact, I've given, because life is so short, as I know all too well. And if I'm not enjoying a book or a film or even theatre, I'll go. I'll just leave. And because if I'm not invested, why would I bother to spend another 8 hours listening to something I'm not enjoying?
I have a friend who's an author, a new author, and he says, if it gets to 10,000 words, I will keep going with it.
Oh.
I don't know if that's a good rule of thumb. And he's very good at it, I have to say. But yeah, that's his rule of thumb. If he's struggling after 10,000, he will leave it and go on to something completely different. Nice comment from...
Sorry.
That's all right. Dame Judi Dench says the thing she loves about theatre acting is every performance is different and can always be changed. She doesn't enjoy performing for film or TV. Well, we do, Judy. We enjoy it when you do, because once it's recorded, it's there forever and can't be changed. But I get that. But it's I suppose daring is the right word, to live on that creative edge all the time. And the only downside will be, can I do it again? But you just can if you keep going with the flow, I guess.
So for your mental well-being, Janice, do you now, this fascinates me. and I've got to be honest, I have a personal vested interest in this because I am drowning here. You've got two huge hits that keep coming back into the charts, by the way. It's not like they're there ephemerally and then they disappear. They're coming back as more and more people go, and word of mouth go, you got to read this. It's just terrific. And I'll give it a read. So that's fabulous. Are you thinking, can I do this? Can I pull it off a third time now? Or are you thinking, no, I'm in the zone. I'm up and running here. I don't care. Boom, I'm off.
I have both of those voices, and I let them sort each other out. I do feel, the pressure now, because the book I've just finished writing is my third one, and it's the first one I've written since becoming a published author. So the first two, I didn't have any expectation or nothing at all. This one, I have had that pressure, but I don't know. It's been okay. I've been able to write still, and I've been able to forget, because as soon as I'm there with that blank page and my hands and the flow going from the page to my head to the hands, everything drops away, and that's when the story comes. When I'm lying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's a different matter.
Hello.
That's different.
Hello.
I love the way you say you let these two voices deal with each other.
Yeah.
That's a great mental health tip. It really is. Rather than battling your internal voices, just let them sort of like, you two go over there, take it outside you two, and deal with it.
Absolutely. That's it. Yeah.
That's a great way of doing it.
It's really interesting. The previous Janice Hallett, nobody knew. So no expectations. Boom, this is a great. Suddenly it's like, hey, it's the new Janice Hallett. So that's a completely different complexion on the expectations of the reading public, of the buying public, isn't it? Because now you got the track record. Do you just think, screw it, I'm still Janice, sod it, they can like it or not like it, or do you think, oh my God?
No, the first one, really. I think because
Excellent.
I'm no spring chicken, I know who I am, and if nobody likes any other of my books, they've liked the first two, and that's fab. That's fab by me. That's brilliant. I'll take that.
Would you really? That's in God. That is wonderful. If I could get into a mental state like that, man, I'd be a much happier person. But I think it's that striving. I don't know if it's striving for perfection or it's ambition to. It's not ambition in the normal sense of the word, and I sense that with you, it's a personal thing. Can I do this for myself? And if everybody else likes it, that's great. And if they don't, c'est la vie.
100%.
But that's a powerful place to be.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a powerful place to be, because you're not beholden to the opinions of others, and particularly if you're in the public eye, particularly if you're a best-selling author or best-selling anything, that there is going to be that pressure. So if you can put it in that kind of context where you really, in the nicest possible way, don't give a stuff what other people think.
Yeah.
But it's like you alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, because you didn't have that pressure, you could flow and give your best work. It's a real paradox, isn't it?
It's a strange thing, but I think if you get the balance right, isn't it? It's balance.
When you're a slave to, I think that's why someone, and you might think this is a bit of a stretch, Janice, but somebody like David Bowie would say, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm going. If my audience come with me, that's great. But as an artist, and I would say for you as an author, that's what I want to do. And it was fascinating. His biggest hits was the Let's Dance album, which was basically disco. It was David Bowie goes disco. He started to fill stadiums, or is it stadiums again, and he hated it. He did not want to be that person. He wanted it to do that album, fine. I think it was Giorgio Moroder, I can't remember, and then move on. He hated the fact that he'd become this, sort of dance band. He didn't want that. And I think it's interesting. That was why he was so measured and so composed all the time, because he did what he wanted to do. I think what you've done to have that mental attitude, Janice Hallett, is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
Come on, it's phenomenal.
Worked on it over the years, I suppose. But
you're obviously far too humble to boast, so we will boast for you.
We're going to boast. We're going to big you up. We don't care. So you see, here's another conundrum. And again, people who don't write, and I don't mean that people who don't write, I don't mean it like that. It's just I'm just trying to explain, because it is a very secluded world, any more than I don't do banking. I don't work in an iron forge or a foundry. I wouldn't know what they do. If you have an agent and they're in communication with a publisher, they will say, yeah, I like what Janice has done. Could she just, would it be possible for there to be some wizards in it? And they then come back. You think I'm joking. So they would come back to a Janice Hallett and say, yeah, they really like your murder mystery set in Croydon. Could we have some, what we need is some magic spells and a bit of Game of Thrones thrown in. And the question that any artist then has is, sod off, I'm not interested, or bugger, I really need this deal. I better do what I'm being told. Where do you stand on that?
I would use my screenwriting experience to think of the note behind the note. If I didn't want to put
Ooh.
wizards in, I'd think, why are they asking for wizards? Is it that this book lacks some excitement on some level? Does it lack some revelations? Is there something else that is acceptable to me that I will like doing, that I can solve that wizard note without putting wizards in if I don't want them?
That's
I'll
clever.
always listen to my editor and the people in the publisher and my agent and anyone with comments on my early manuscripts, because it's so valuable. By the time I've written something, I can't see the wood for the trees. So those outside eyes are just invaluable. I love
I
it.
love that. That's a real sort of middle ground approach, because
It's so sensible.
I noticed this in music. Once a sound, like you were talking about earlier, Russ, once a sound became acceptable, I always remember the song Rockabye, Clean Bandit, which is a great song. And it had this kind of unique wow, 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 wow sound. And then suddenly I noticed every single song in the dance scene had this kind of wow, wow sound. And before that, it was a pumpy sort of sound like Nicki Minaj. And it's just jumping on bandwagons. But as an author who wants to keep with your creativity and authenticity, I'm not an author, but I imagine I wouldn't want to do that if suddenly they said put wizards in. But I love that middle ground approach that you've got. What's the subtext? That's a really brilliant answer.
It is a good answer. What you're battling here, both Janice and anybody else who is in the commercial arena, is your artistic integrity versus commercial reality.
Versus jump on it when it's hot, jump off it when it's not.
Because the publishers, for them, it's not about forget Booker Prize and stuff. It's not about art. It is about selling units. It's about warehouses. It's about shifting books. It's about the bottom line. I know that sounds rude, but it's true. They're in the business to make money. So they look at a trend, the Harry Potter phenomenon, and they go to all their authors and say, we need that. Or they look at, Game of Thrones and they go, could you do that? Or then they look at the Viking track. Can you write a Viking? No, I write romantic novels. Somebody will say, oh yeah, but could you just? And that's the balance that, all of those things are trying to maintain. So you've got to be commercially aware. You can't just live in a vacuum, because just your mum and your cousin might like the book and that's the end of it. But you've got to keep your own integrity.
Now, clearly you read a lot as well, because I don't think all those books are for show. What's your favourite thing to read? I love looking at people's bookcases. If I go into someone's house, I always look at what books they've got. Always.
Well, the books you see behind me, they're from my past, because they're very neatly stored. And they're old classics from when I used to read a lot more. In the last, say, 15 years, when I've been writing more, I haven't been able to read quite as much as I'd like. I'm trying to catch up now, actually, and I'm lucky enough to read a lot of books before they're released, which is fabulous.
That's nice, isn't it? That must be lovely.
There's quite a good novel called The Gatekeeper, I've heard. That's quite good.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
You know what, Janice? I'm not a jealous, like John Lennon, I'm not a jealous guy. I'm actually not. I don't get jealous at all. But when I see authors like yourself saying, "Oh, look what I've just received," and it's all these pre-release, I'm going, "Oh man, that looks good." This pile of lovely books. Well, you remember, Neil, when you used to get 800,000 records sent to you, at Capitol. I didn't, mercifully, because I wanted to listen to them. But you used to get all that. It's the kind of same with the book trade.
May I ask your favourite book that you've ever read, Janice?
Ooh.
Favorite book ever. Oh, what a question. Right.
I know it's like asking for your favourite song. It's very hard to answer, but
I mean, I'd have to say Don Quixote.
okay.
Mm.
Do you know I've started that? I'm not joking. I have started Don Quixote 4 times, 5 times.
Yeah, it's a long
I've
read.
never managed it.
Yeah, it's a long, and it's written in the 1600s, so it's not in modern lingo, but I love it. I love the story and the humor. There's a lot of humor in it that we still laugh at now, that people were laughing at in the 1600s.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I tried again the week before last. I tried. This comes as a surprise to Neil Long and most people who know me. I was trying to read James Joyce Ulysses. I got to tell you, I did not get very far.
Mm.
I thought, I'm just not in the right space to read. I just can't. Just couldn't make it at all.
Yeah.
I suppose it's because I didn't care what happened at the end. You see, but with you and your work, I care what happens.
Yeah.
I have an investment. Do you feel a sense of rivalry? This is a slightly out of kilter question, but do you feel a sense of rivalry or comradeship with somebody like, the great writers like yourself? I would say Sophie Hannah, Ellie Griffiths, etc.
Oh, comradeship, if they'll let me join their ranks, absolutely comradeship.
They
In fact,
seem
I
very friendly.
understand. I understand a lot more now about what it is to be an author and a writer than I did before. So yeah, I feel even more comradeship with them.
But you can identify with.
Oh,
this
yeah,
is a
absolutely.
really personal question,
Yeah.
but we are about mental health and well-being.
Mhm.
Do you stand on the outside and go, God, I wish I could be, I'll pick a name, Sophie Hannah, Ellie Griffiths, whatever. Or do you think, yeah, I'm just like them?
Yeah,
Where are
absolutely.
you on that?
Yeah. Or they're just like me. Yeah, we're all the same. We're all working on our next book, thinking about the one after that, worrying about the one that's just about to come out. All of those things.
It's peership, isn't it? And
Yeah.
peership, I think, is a key component for our mental health and well-being.
Mhm.
People like us with similar goals, if you would define peership as that. And that I believe that to be an absolutely key component, whatever you're doing in life, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And we're all together. We're all in this together.
Absolutely.
It's so lovely you say that, because the music industry, I'm absolutely blunt with you, is the opposite. There is they pretend there's a comradeship and a friendship, and the rivalry and the egos, it's repulsive. It's like swimming through a very nasty river, not the nice river that Neil always describes about the flow. What is it? My next query is this. To my amazement on Twitter, people instantly respond who I admire hugely. And I thought, well, they're never going to write back to me. Why on earth would they? And at the top of that list, apart from the names I've just mentioned and a load of others, would be Anthony Horowitz, one of the most successful authors in the UK, who not only turned up at my book launch, I nearly fainted. I thought, God almighty, there's Anthony. There he was. I mean, I invited, I didn't think he'd turn up. And then a couple of years ago, he says, why don't we have drinks? And we went off and the most down-to-earth, normal. I found the community so, to my amazement, so welcoming and so kind and so supportive. What is it about writers like yourself that seems to run right through that genre?
I don't know. It might be the personality of people who take up writing as a career. It might be the journeys they've taken to get where they are. They or the level of understanding they have purely as someone who creates characters and creates stories. They have a sort of level of understanding of others.
And
maybe.
perhaps the struggle they went through to do it
Yeah.
makes them more humble, so it makes them more open to people, as opposed to the music industry, which is, Russ say, all about egos.
Mm-hmm.
And has a lifespan, if you're lucky, of 12 months. If you're a big hit, 18 months. And then unless you're, Paul McCartney or Diana Ross or somebody like that, which shows you how brilliant they are. It is a very rare thing that people are so kind in one particular industry. Just charming. It stuns me every day, Janice. It actually
Yeah.
absolutely surprises me every day.
Can I just say my battery is running low, and I
Okay.
didn't bring in a Canadian adapter, which I need to get today. But so the one thing, I always forget something. So if I jump out, I will jump back in again on my phone.
Bless you. I'll
I'm not
take you
being
out.
rude.
I will take you out. I'll take you out so you can do your phone thing. How about that? Is that a good
Right.
idea?
I'll take myself out.
Oh, all right. And just like that,
He's gone.
he was gone. It's been. I'm so pleased you could join. It's been an absolute blooming treat for me. When's the next book? Oh, this is such a boring question. But when is the next book? When's it planned to be out?
Next book planned for January 2023. So I seem to have a January slot to be published.
But you know, that's a good thing because you got through Christmas and then suddenly you think, oh God, another year to get through. And if you can find seriously, that's how I look at it. And if you can find something to cheer you up, it's like, oh, isn't that marvelous?
There he is.
There he is. Isn't this a fantastic signal from Canada? Amazing. And Neil got up in the middle of the night. I'd forgotten he was there. So kind of him. So, oh my goodness me, Leslie Demeter, it says this, Auntie Horowitz and I went to the same prep school. Blimey, O'Reilly. Go figure that. Janice, thank you so much. I have enjoyed this conversation every bit as much as I hoped I would.
I'm going to get a copy of the book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Get both the books.
I will.
The Appeal and then get the Twyford Code.
Happy sleuthing.
Am I good in marketing? Am I good in marketing?
Brilliant. You're brilliant, Russ.
Just push those books up, push those sales. You won't regret it. Honestly, they're fantastic.
I look forward to reading them.
No, they're really good.
Thank you.
Janice, thank you so much. I wish you a full recovery from your COVID.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to read, please God, I'm still here, book number 3.
Thank you. Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels out January.
Whoa. Don't just drop that in. Don't just give us a preview and then think you're going to go. What's it called?
The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels.
I'm already hooked. I swear to God, I'm already hooked. Alperton.
Alperton, yep.
I know. Where is that? Where's Alperton?
Northwest London.
It is. It's off the A40.
Yeah, near Hanger Lane.
Isn't it the God, life has come full circle. It's near the Hanger Lane gyratory system.
It is, yes,
with the tailback going back to, oh my God, full circle. Janice, thank you so much.
And I love your answer.
Thank you.
Well, there's some real people listening to this on the replay. There's some really brilliant answers that I think will actually help people with mental health and indeed in writing or any project they're doing. Some really good stuff has come out on this episode. So, Jan,
thank you. I'm delighted.
Meet you.
You sound surprised.
Everything surprises me.
You know, I love that. That's how I go through life. I mean, so I go, everything's a surprise every day. I go around the next bend and it's like, really? I always find life a complete extraordinary thing. Janice, thank you so much. I know how busy you are. Bless you. Wish you everything better. And thank you for all the wonderful entertainment that you have given. And I mean that. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, Neil.
Lovely to meet you, Janice.
Bye.
Bye.
Isn't she great?
Fantastic.
What a I'm not just saying those books are great. Those books they're really clever. Because to write in that style, I thought, and I said to her, in the hands of somebody less skilled, it would have been the most tedious thing to read. It would have been unreadable. I don't know how she did it.
She's
really
so
clever,
isn't she? So humble.
Now, all sorts of goings on. This is very sad. Chrissy Richards in Spain lost her son yesterday.
Oh, goodness.
She's now lost both her sons.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. How do you bounce back from that? So I wanted a little time. I wanted a little time to try and deal with this because I thought, Neil, it would be rude not to.
No, absolutely.
Chrissy Richards is replying. Would you like to read this? You've got all the trouble to coming on the show in Canada.
Emma put a message on to Chrissy saying, talk things through. I don't know if you put that one on the screen.
God, no. Christ.
Emma, thank you. It was just saying if you want to talk things through. It was just Emma being lovely. Emma, thank you. It's even worse. I've just found out he hung himself. Why?
Oh my God.
He talked to someone. He did a lot for his ex-army mates. So I'm on a phone here, so it's very tiny.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read. Let me help you out. He did a lot for his ex-army mates. A lot have died. Hasn't helped.
Basically asking to be connected to.
Jesus Christ! I'm so sorry, Chrissy. I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say. It's just so important to.
It's
thing with men, we think we're supposed. When I had my mental health dip a couple of years ago, I felt so overly responsible that I felt I should have all the answers, and I felt bad that I didn't, which didn't help me. Because it's the last thing you need to do, to beat yourself up on top of an already existing problem. And I just judged myself so mercilessly, and it took an awful lot of therapy and an awful lot of love for some very understanding friends to work my way through it. But it's always reach out. Chrissy, I don't know what to say to you. We are here to help and support you in any way we can.
Do you feel bad? I'm going to ask you a question, Neil, and it goes to the heart of everything we try and do here on MRS. Do you feel bad? Because I'm trying to process something. Because my immediate reaction, and I said, I don't know what to say. And then the other part of me is saying, Russell, it's your bloody radio station you co-founded with Howard. You should know what to say, but I don't.
But you're kind of doing that very thing now. You're beating yourself up because you.
Well, I am, because I don't feel adequate enough to try and give some comfort to Chrissy Richards, whose son ended his life yesterday.
The very fact that we're reading it out and talking openly and honestly about it, I would say for Chrissy right now, for now, is all she needs for this next 10 minutes, if you know what I mean.
No, I get it.
Nothing else for the next 10 minutes. You're kind of shoulding all over yourself, if you like. But just being just creating a forum where people can talk honestly and openly is enough, I believe. And I wonder, Chrissy, if there's a guest that we could have on, if there's some something or some way we can help, if there's a guest we can have on discussing a particular subject. I don't know, whatever you need.
I'll tell you. All right. I think on some other radio stations, or especially television stations, they'd get on some pundit who would give a lot of platitudes for like 4 minutes, and then they'd go on to floaty summer fashions.
Yeah, no. That's not my thing.
And I can't, if that's what people want, I'm sorry. I can't do that. I've got to be honest. Neil's got to be honest. And Phil's on, he's very honest. I can't do that. I can't give you some sort of brilliant little pamphlet. These things are so complicated and go to the very heart of who we are, and so devastating. You can't just have some platitudes to get over.
And I find that healing from trauma, and I know this because I have a podcast client, lady I'd love to get on, Madeline, and she's written a book about her recovery from a terrible trauma. And it's twisty and turny, and what happens is you tend to meet the right people at the right time, and that one's a little component and that one's a cog in the wheel. And then eventually, and I do say eventually, and this is a phrase that Madeline uses because she's in this place now, she uses the phrase, you turn the corner of healing, and then you're in a place to be able to use that to be able to help other people that may have experienced something similar. And that's the very end of the journey. But it is a journey. It is a journey.
Let me read these out, because I'm reading them out in case you think, why are you reading that on the screen? It's because Deluxe Radio, 70,000 people can't see this. I do say that because otherwise you think we're a bit thick. Wait, you'd be right. Leslie Demeter says, sometimes it's better not to say anything. More important to be present to the person and listen than Rosemary Jessup, who's having a bloody rough time herself. Normally just lovely little pictures of her horses and little jokes she sends me. And Rosemary's saying, sending hugs to Chrissy. There are no answers. Please don't feel guilty. She's talking to you, Chrissy. There is nothing you could have done, I promise.
And I think that's the really important thing that we're doing here, because we do provide I know you don't like this phrase, sorry, use the phrase non-judgmental, I use the phrase safe space.
Either or.
Overly, but it is a safe space, because that's what I found when I wasn't feeling well. It was just enough to have people present with me, and I felt safe to express all I was feeling rather than trying to push it all down and put on that face, because it got to the point where I was about to explode. It was just unbearable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. This is from Derek Sharbody, and Derek, thank you for joining us. First time that we've seen your name up here. Well said. And then he says, keep on empowering and educating. That's all we can try and do. That's all we can try and do. There's been a number of suicides just recently, and I don't know why it's spiking. Well, there's a million reasons why it's spiking, but it's still a horrible, horrible, horrible shock. And as I always say, and it's hardly genius, but for that person, their suffering, their torment is over. And for the family and everybody left behind, it's just starting. And that's the pain. That's the horrible. Elizabeth Green in New York City saying, Chrissy, we're all in this together. We love you. And Chrissy back in Spain saying, having my video family helps. And this question, Neil, is the very, very reason that I went to Howard and I said, as well as women's radio, Howard Jameson, I said, we should start men's radio. And we shook hands in a greasy spoon in Covent Garden, and the rest was history. Why didn't he talk to someone? If I had to have one message that encapsulated everything about what we're trying to achieve here, why didn't he talk to someone? And that is the question. Why? Because they get in. Chrissy, you're going to be asking that question for the rest of your life. I will say this, and I know you won't be able to hear it. I know you won't be able to hear it now. But let it kind of percolate through. There is nothing you could have done. There is nothing you could have done at all. He clearly made up his mind. And
Chrissy, I would add to that, and again, this is probably hard to hear right now, but you are enough as you are. That's the realization that everyone comes to on any kind of, I suppose. Jesus,
and look at this. He has 3 kids.
Oh, my.
Oh, God almighty. He has 3 kids, 24, 21, and 18, and his partner, Sarah, plus Liz. Rosemary Jessup says this, and I'm only reading it. I'm not trying to jump. It's just Neil's on a phone, and with my eyesight, trust me, I know how bloody difficult it is to read these little messages, so I'm trying to help. To Rosemary Jessup, it's a life sentence for those of us left behind. Tell Chrissy she can contact me. There are people who can and will listen, who can and will help.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to shy away from this. Other radio stations would shy away from. Sod it. I'm not going to. Chrissy says Sarah found him. She won't get rid of that site. She won't. She will need help, I would imagine, for the rest of her life.
Yeah, NLP can help with things like that.
How do you deal with that? How could you deal with? God damn.
It all seems so big and insurmountable. But for images in the mind, I do know there's with things like that. I treated a fireman once who'd seen some awful things with NLP and images in his mind, and he responded really well. So that might go some way to answering that question. And I think, and Chrissy, there are resources and there are people and that can and will and want to help. There's a lot of love in the room, to use that cliche.
Yeah, it's true. I'm going to say something. Oh, sorry. Oh, so sorry.
We're right here with you.
Yeah, I want to say something which I'm running right out of time. Is that people might be watching and listening, going, "Well, how bloody selfish! What a selfish thing to do!" And leaving everybody to clear up the mess and leaving all that heartache. When you are in that mental state, please don't judge them. They're in such a state of despair. Please don't judge them and say that it's those rules just don't apply.
I think just hearing things
that's my personal view.
I agree, and it makes me even more determined to keep advocating for mental health. I mean, I call myself an advocate for mental health. Just hearing things like that makes me even more determined to do more stuff like this. To get the message out there that it's okay not to be okay. There is help available, and there is help available. It doesn't normally come in the form you expect. It doesn't unfold like you think it should, but it is there and it does come.
I did a post on Twitter and Facebook very, very late last night, early this morning, that shocked me. There's a meme, and I've used it loads of times. There's a little girl, She does that very cute face. You'd know it. They found her in a park in Washington State yesterday, I think, or the day before. Age 16, took her own life. And you think she had everything going. Wow, it can take any age, any sex, anywhere. So take care. Be kind to yourselves. Look after yourselves. Neil and I, if Neil can do it from Canada, we'll be back on Wednesday.
Definitely.
Chrissy, we send all our love to you.
All the best to you.
Take care, everybody. Bye.